Sukkah, shigavay lamalo me'esr ma'ama. A sukkah which is higher than 20 amas. Psula. No good. Invalid, alright? Hey, where'd the sukkah go? There's the sukkah. Alright. So we got a sukkah here that is more than 20 amas high. I'm going to actually, for now... Oh, hello. Hi, Abba. Okay. Right now, I'm going to get rid of the other tape measure, just because the other tape measure is for Amabas, what's it called? The Amabas Shisha Tfachim, and right now, we're going by Amabas Chamisha. So the sukkah is taller than this tape measure over here. It's more than 20 amas high. This sukkah is psula. No good. Rabbi Yehuda Machsher. Rabbi Yehuda says it's kosher. Okay. Next case the Mishnah is V'she'ena gavaya asar tfachim. What about a sukkah that is less than 10 tfachim tall? This is going to be a dramatic shift. Oh, in fact, I think that the sukkah is going to get shorter than the door I made for it. So we're going to have to actually shrink the door as well. If we're going to make it, if we're going to be able to make it that short. Let's see. Here we go. Now the schach. Let's actually look at it. Now it's just weirdly tilted. Let's look at the sukkah exactly head on. Here we go. Now in tfachim, this over here, because we're right now doing an amabas chamisha tfachim, this would be 10 tfachim up to here. The sukkah is going to be a little bit below that, and I noticed that the schach in this model is a bit staggered. So I'm going to actually move the schach a little bit lower. Oh, that's better. Okay. And now we have a sukkah which is not even 10 tefachim high. That's also no good. You'll notice Rabbi Yehuda doesn't argue. V'she'ein la shalosh defanais, a sukkah that does not have 3 walls. Spoiler alert, the end of the Mishnah is psula. It's not going to be kosher. What would be a sukkah without 3 walls? Well, I mean, if we take this sukkah and I just start eradicating walls, now it's down to our threesomes down to 2. Ooh, can you feel the psul tonight? Yeah, this sukkah over here does not have 3 defanais. It is going to be psula. And the last case of the Mishnah is v'shechamasa meruba mitzilasa, and a sukkah that has more sun coming through than shade. And to do that, I guess I'm just going to go on a deletion spree. Let's get rid of lots of schach over here. Ooh, things are thinning out over here. This sukkah needs rogaine. Yeah, ooh, that's like a huge hole. But even without a huge hole like that, I mean, this sukkah is getting dangerously close to chamasa meruba mitzilasa psula. No good. The sukkah is not kosher anymore. Okay. Sagt Rashi. The Gemara is going to explain the machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan. Trust me, well, we're going to have a whole daf about it. V'she'en gavaya asara. The Gemara mefarish taima. We'll explain why less than 10 tefachim is psula. Shalish defanais nami b'gemara yalef lehu. Interestingly, this thing is going to be learned out from psukim. V'shechamasa meruba mitzilasa, where there's more sun than shade. Zag Rashi hamuat batel b'roiv v'harei hu kamisha einai. Rashi's saying that if you could view what's left as schach, then that would be good. But it's batel b'roiv, since there's a majority of sun, the minority of schach that's left there is gone. V'ashem haschach kruya sukkah. And why is it called the sukkah? Because of the schach. Blink, blink, blink. All right, we have restored the schach. Okay. Now, the Gemara says, Tanan Hasam. We have a Mishnah over there, Maseches Erevin. Yay. Okay, so we get to use all of our Erevin models over here. So, if you remember from Maseches Erevin, ooh, look at that tiny little mavoi over there. So, let's see. How tall is that one? Yeah, this looks like a mavoi that is less than 10 tefachim. So, Tanan Hasam, Shteit Mishnah. Mavoi shugavaya lemala me'eser ma'ama. If the mavoi, which actually, no, this is Toras HaPesach. I don't want to get into that over here. Let's pick the kaira, which is being matir the mavoi. Oh, wow. So Rashi here is going to go on a whole long Eruvin discussion. So let's do that. Let's get rid of the Tzuras HaPesach over here and just let's seal off the Mavoi. Is the other side? Ooh. Yeah, okay, we'll flip it around. All right, the goal right now, our goal is, let's see. What we're going to do with this Mavoi over here is, actually, hang on, I'm going to make some of the screen bigger. There, that's good. Okay, so what's going on? Come on. Here we go. Right now, this Mavoi is actually not open to Ereshus Harabim, so we're going to make this Mavoi do a 180. And now, it is open up to Ereshus Harabim. Okay, great. Zokt Rashi. Mavoi, Shugavaya. Mavoi, a alleyway. Shehu Sasum Mishalosh Tzadin. It is sealed on 3 sides, meaning you can see it's got, right? Where the cursor is going, it's 1, 2, 3, sealed off. And its head, the entranceway, the 4th side, it's open to a Rishas Harabim, a public thoroughfare. And there are courtyards that are open up to the Mavoi. You see these 2 courtyards over here. And people are coming through the Mavoi, from the Chatzerais, out of the Mavoi, and out of the house into the Chatzer, into the Mavoi, into the Rishas Harabim. Really, it's a Rishas Hayachid Minat Torah. And you can totally carry things around in Shabbos from your house to the Chatzer to the Mavoi. But midirabanan, it is forbidden to bring things from one rishus to the other. I'm in Rashi right now. Forbidden to bring from one rishus to another without doing an eruv first to join them. Why? Each chatzar is its own place. And the mavoi is for all of them. So, this is back when we were doing sukkah. I would demonstrate this by, let's see if it's in our library. Yeah, it is. Okay, nice. Here, we would say, right, hey, wrong color. We did not want that one. We wanted that one. All right, this chutzner is going to glow red. And let's duplicate that over here and make this one glow yellow. And there happens to be a 3rd chutzner over here, so just for fun. Hey, what's going on? There. All right, let's make this one glow. All right, we'll make this one blue. So now each chutzner is its own rishus, and the mavoi, if they would all go into it, it'd be like, you'd have a color clash. But by doing an eruv, you are combining them all into one area, which means that they and the mavoi would be one big rishus. The example that we always used was purple, just usually because it was the blue and the red mixing. But okay, so Zot Rashi, of the Chacham said you need to have a joining together. Leishtativ kol hakatzeros. That they have a communally shared thing of bread or wine, and this stored bread or wine is going to be kept in one of the chatzeros. There's another problem, and that is that there is no 4th wall. Ooh, maybe I shouldn't jump the gun and have that pole over there. There is no 4th wall. Ooh, Vikarev Huliyos Doimel Shasarambim. And it's sort of becoming similar to Urshas Harabim. They said you need to have something to show the difference in the part that's open to the Urshas Harabim, meaning this side over here. Lechi Zakov. either, and I'm gonna take away all the purple boxes over here just because too confusing. Okay, that's not the point. You can either have a lechi, which would mean something over E. I'm trying to make it relatively. Okay, here you go. A vertical thing sticking out, that would be a lechi. Oh, or a kaira, a beam, which is going all the way across from wall to wall. And now Rashi gets into the Mishnah in Eruvin, which the Gemara is quoting. And if this beam is over 20 amas, so how high would that be? Well, let's see. Is this a I want to see something. Is this a dynamic mavoi? Let's see if this comes with options in it. No, this is not the cool mavoi that I made that updates itself. Oh well. In that case, we will have to do it for us. All right, let's make this thing. How tall are we going to make it? Let's look at our tape measure, and we're going to make it a little bit higher than that even. Okay. All right, now you see one wall is way up in the air over here. And I'm going to make it a little bit taller. And now I'm going to bring the second side also up to here. And the beam of wood, which is mounted on top, is also going to be all the way up there. So now we have a mavoi that is over 20 amas high. What do you do? It's not an awesome state mission. The Eruvin Mavi Shugavaya Lamala Master Ma'ama Mavi, which is higher above 20 amas, you might lower it. Rabbi Yehuda says you don't have to. Okay. Frak the Gemara. Maishna gabi sukkah de tani psulo. Maishna gabi mavi de tani takanto. Why by sukkah did we say it's psula? It's no good. It's invalid. Oh, haha! This is the sukkah that's less than 10. Let's see. If I make a copy of it, what would happen if? All right. I'm gonna make a copy of this sukkah. That way we can have a less than 10 one, and we can also have a over 21. Over 21? No, an over 21. Let's see. Okay, there. Now we got our, and now of course the door doesn't need to be so Lilliputian. Well, I'm not sure the correct way to pronounce that at all. I'm also not sure why is this door not rising? Ah, okay, that's better. All right. So we now have a sukkah over 20. And we have, in Mesach's Eruvin, let's get the camera back to a normal view of things. Mesach's Eruvin, we have a mavoi over 20. And yet in Mesach's Sukkah, it says, psula, it is invalid. And in Eruvin, we tell you, fix it. We say, yema'et. So Drashi, yema'et. Yashbil, lower the kaira. Meaning with the walls. And Rabbi Yehuda says, Einot Tzarech, V'asam Mefarish Time. We'll get the reasons are over there, Rashi says. But the Gemara is asking, why by sukkah do we say psula, and b'mavoi we say how to fix it? So the Gemara is going to give two options for an answer. First answer is sukkah de'iraisa tani psula, as opposed to mavoi derabanan tani takanta. First answer is sukkah is a mitzvah min Torah, mavoi is a mitzvah min derabanan. Why is that a reason for this difference? So Rashi explains it. Sukkah mid'iraisa, because the Esrim Amadilay Alfina mid'iraisa, we learn out the din of 20 amas minatayra, v'kaidem shenishnes hamishna ner mashiur misinai, and there was Hilchai Sukkah existing before a rabbinic presentation of them. Tani psula, it's shayach lemisni balashim psul. It works. It's possible to say it is puzzle. Klemar lenasis katayra v'kalacha. It's saying it wasn't done according to the rules which were already set. But Mavoi, Rashi continues to kuli midirabanan. the entire thing is rabbinic. Really, the mavui is already, it's got 3 walls. It doesn't need a pole over the fourth to make like a 4th entryway. The way Rashi's learning is, we had to say a takana. We would want to say pasla, but we can't. Deman pasla. Who pasled it? Deman pasla kaidim shenishnis mishnazu. Harehi tchilas erasei mitzvasei. I mean, Rashi is saying that the Mishnayos are presenting the rabbinic law, and before the Mishnah starts talking about a mavoi and a kaira, there's no such thing. You don't need it. So you can't introduce it by saying it wasn't done according to its pre-existing rules, because there are no pre-existing rules. So therefore, by mavoi, we had to only say takanta. Okay? Tosfos learns differently. He brings that my deraisa, we had to be firmer and say like, it's psula. There's less room to be taya. Okay. Over there, Abanon, we said with Lishna Malia. Okay. The boys aim of the Gemara gives a different answer. B'deraisa nami tani takanta, which is an interesting way to say it. It's not the way that Rashi was explaining it before, seemingly, that the way Rashi was seeming to explain it, we wanted to say psula by mavoi and we couldn't. V'bois ema Rashi b'deraisa nami shayach l'nemer takanta. Miu sukkah denafishin mile. Sukkah has lots of halachas. Therefore, pasuk v'tani psula. We had to just say something that could cover all the cases. Mavoi delay nafish mile tani takanta. Mavoi, it's very short. There's only one din, and that is if it's over 20 amos high, you gotta lower it. There. Ooh. All right. So how are we gonna? I'm gonna see if I can lower this mavoi. Very simply. Let's see. Here it goes. There, we did it. That was simple. We had a takanta. It wasn't a long, complicated, drawn-out lesson in what needs to happen. But by sukkah, we're talking about a bunch of different cases. And Rashi speaks it out with a geshmak. Sukkah nefishi milsa ve'in doimin tekkanei seyen zulazu. The way to fix up the sukkah is going to be different depending on what the problem is. And we would have to say how to fix it in each way. If it's too tall, if it's 20 amos above the ground, more than that, you got to lower it. And if it's too short, you got to make it higher. If it doesn't have 3 walls, so I'll make another one. And if it has too much sun, too much. No. Pasuk v'tani psula. Therefore, it just says psula, which covers all the cases. You can combine everything with that lashon to kaimalon. Yishana adul metamida derech katsara. Try to keep things concise. And mavui light nafish mile fa'is mishnah. In that mishnah, there aren't lots of things going on with the mavui, so therefore you can just say the takana. Rashi's about varning. Obviously, there is other things going on by mavui, but in that mishnah, that's the only thing that's happening. Zok the Gemara weiter. Mina hani mili. Where does this come from? This din of a sukkah that is over 20 amos is psula, with Rabbi Yehuda being matir. All right, here goes. We're going to have, first shita is Rabbah. Amar Rabbah. The Amar Kra. Rabbah has an interesting drush in the pasuk. A simple reading of the pasuk would be, you should on sukkahs dwell in booths, so that your generations may know that Hashem housed Bnei Israel in Sukkos long ago. Rav is not learning that way. That your generations should know that they are in a sukkah. And that's Hishavti es Bnei Israel. That's how I told Bnei Israel to do it. It's like Rashi. Make a sukkah she'shivasani keres l'cha. That when you're dwelling in it, that is something which is obvious. You can notice it. Yedu, they should know kivas sukkah is hishavti. And Haishavti means tzivi silei shev. Hachidarshle. Vafal gav de in yotzim de pshuta tekavan kaved. Interesting, Rashi calls that the pshat. Even though Avada, there's the din of man yedu derasechem that the generation should know that Hashem protected us with sukkahs, with clouds. Miu dershinan ledrasha. Rabba has a drasha for it also. Okay, what's the drasha? Zog the Gemara weiter. Rabba's masber ad esrim amma up through 20 amas adim yedeshu dar b'sukkah. He can notice he's in a sukkah. Lamala me esrim amma ein adim yedeshu dar b'sukkah. He won't know that he's in a sukkah mishum delay shalta ba'ena. It's not something that will be recognizable. His eye doesn't hit it. Delay shalta ba'ena she'ena reis eschach v'sukkah hainu schach ke shma, as Rashi had said, right? Sukkah is schach. So the way Rambam is learning, and really, I should not have defined magiyos l'schach necessarily in this case. Rambam is learning that when you are in a sukkah, you notice the schach is all the way up in the air. Rambam says that a person in such a sukkah is not going to notice his schach. That's Rambam. Now we're up to the next explanation. Rabbi Zera Amar Mehacha. Rabbi Zera learns it from here. This is a pasuk in Yeshayahu. We're going to hear at the end of the Gemara what the pasuk is talking about. The Asad Lavai, that the righteous are being protected from flaming destruction in their booths. V'sukkah tiyeh l'tzel yomam meichayrev. I think it's meichayrev, not meichayrev. I'm pretty sure, and I don't have an Ezvahadar. The sukkah tiyeh l'tzel yomam meichayrev. I think. Okay, so the pasuk here is connecting sukkah to tzel, sukkah to shade. Ad esrim amma, up through 20 amas, adam yeshib b'tzel sukkah. You're in the shade of your schach. Lamala me'esrim amma, once you're above 20, ein adam yeshib b'tzel sukkah, el b'tzel defanes. You're in the shade of the walls. This is a bit tricky, but obviously, if the sun is directly overhead, then your sukkah would have shade from the schach at noon. However, most people are not living in a place where the sun is directly overhead sukkah's time, so the sun is going to be shining down at a bit of an angle, and if your schach is too high, the angle will be enough that it will be casting shade onto the ground or beyond the walls, and what's shading you inside are the walls of the sukkah. That is Rabbi Zera Zakrashi. V'sukkah tiyeh l'tzel, mashmein schach ela ha'asu l'tzel. That's what schach is. Ela b'tzel defanos, shatzlalin magian zel lozem te'kervin shel defanos v'intzarech schach. The shadows meet. This is not the silly picture that you can find in what's it called? Come on, the picture book. Not the Nintendo Super picture book. The classic. I'm blanking on it. Okay, Perish Chai. Not the Perish Chai picture, which usually has very good pictures, but for this state, he shows shadows going like this, which is impossible unless there's different light sources, which the sun, it's not like we're on Tatooine. So what the real pshat is that Rashi's saying about the shadows meeting. Let's see, can I enable shadows over here? Let me see. Let's see. Shadows. Yeah, but are they visible? For that, we have to go into Styles. Edit. Oh, okay. Oh, there are shadows, but it's doing them very subtly. Okay, the point is in this Rashi that if your sukkah is too tall, let's move the walls up. Rashi's saying if your sukkah is too tall, then the shade that you're in is going to be because the wall on one side is just casting shade all the way across, and that's what Rashi means that when the shades, the shadows are meeting, because obviously the wall opposite it is also casting a shadow, and the first shadow is overlapping with that one, and you in the middle are not getting any sale from the schach. Okay, fine, fair. Amar le Abaye, fragt Abaye, elameato. If that's the pshat, what about someone who makes his sukkah in ashtarais karnayim? Okay, I was actually not planning this at all, but I happen to have a geological map of Eretz Yisrael over here. Here, let's find ashtarais karnayim. Dun, 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 bum, bum, dum. Here we go. It's going to be around here. Oh, okay. Oh, that's funny. Ashtarais Karnaim is actually off the geological map here. Is it going to be within the elevation data? Yes, it is. Okay. In that case, we are going to enter 3D mode. Like this. Of course, this is based on satellite data that's sampling every 30 meters or so we're not going to get actual Ashtarais Karnaim cliffs. But hey, it's always, I know why it's not loading. That's hilarious. It's not loading because it's only a visual. Try this and we will get, all right, now we have actual terrain stuff loading. And this is going to take forever. But it will load eventually. Okay, so, Dr. Rashi. Ashtarais Karnaim, Dr. Rashi. Shnei Harim Gedolim. There are two big mountains. Vehashfela Beinayim. And there is a lower area in between them. Oh, did I just completely freeze up and lock this program? That's annoying. Umitoich Goive Harim in Chamaz Rachas Sham B'Shvela. And because the mountains are so high, then, here we go. Let's see if we get our 3D view. Yes, okay, so here we go. We are in the region near Ashtarais Karnaim. And who's sending me messages now? Who is messaging me? Oh, okay, nope, school message. All right, so here we go. Oh, I clicked on something, and it's going to make the 3D view load again. You know what? Yeah, nothing to do about it. Okay, so, you can see the region of Ashtarais Karnaim. You can see that, this is not exactly there, but you can see the dramatic cliffs and lowland between them, and you can see there might be some areas that have a perpetual shadow. So, this is Abaye's Kasha to Rebbe Zera. According to you, a sukkah there is never kosher. Omar Le, Rebbe Zera said, no, Hassam, over there, Dal Ashtarais Karnaim, if you remove Ashtarais Karnaim, Ika Tzel Sukkah. Then you have the shade of your schach, which was there all the time. Hacha. But over here in Meseches, when you have a sukkah, here's some dramatic footage of the Yarmulke Canyon. But here Meseches Sukkah, Dal Defanais, if you would take away the walls that are over 20 amais, that still is not going to help you because like a Tzel Sukkah, you're not going to have the shade of a sukkah. Rashi. Dal defanis like a tzel sukkah. Shecham ba mitachteha nimtza shma batel. Right, without the walls, you just the sun is shining in there, so your schach is not giving you what you need. As opposed to by Ashtarais Karnaim, the schach is giving it, and so is the cliffs. Okay, now we have the third pshat. I'm gonna turn off notifications. Let's see. I don't want to keep having notifications lighting things up over here. Let's mute this tab. Okay. And back to Sukkah. So, V'Rava Amar Me'acha. Rava says, here's the reason why a Sukkah over 20 ames is psula. And the reason is, state in Pasuk, Basukais Teshavu Shiv'as Yomim, right? Dwell in booths for 7 days. Amar Torah, the Torah says, Kol Shiv'as Hayomim, for 7 days, tzei midiras keva, leave a permanently established domicile, abode, v'shev b'diras arai, and dwell in a temporary dwelling. Ad esrim ama, something that's less than 20 amas high, I said diras arai. That's something which could be made, something which is more temporary, and that's an ideal sukkah. L'mala me'esrim ama, but once you've built something that's over 20 amas high, that's something which is built much better. Only Abaye, frekt Abaye, elameata. If so, asa mechitza shel barzel v'sikech al gaba nochinami delei avisokah. You're saying that it's not about the height per se; it's about the permanence of it. So here's a sukkah over here. I've just made it an acceptable height. It is no longer less than 10 tefachim, but we're going to turn the walls into walls of steel. Let's see. All right, this should look good. Hey, but it didn't work. Let's try again. All right, here you have. What about this? Oh, that's funny. All right, here we have our I am iron sukkah. Yes, so now we have our sukkah made out of steel, iron, and now it's not going to be a kosher sukkah. Obviously it is. Zakt Rashi, if there is one. No, but there's Rashi going back on Rava's Iker Din. Shivas his drasha. Shivas Yomim sukkah shel shiva v'sulai. A sukkah of 7, no more. Dainu arai, it's temporary. Vidaya b'mechitzas kalis, and it's enough for it to be built out of simple light walls. L'mala me'asrim, over 20 amais archlases, he said, kavuin shlei tipol. Over 20 amais, you're going to have to make the walls much more stable, sturdy, permanent, so it won't fall over. So Rava responds to Rabbi Zera's kasha. Amalei, no. Here's what I'm saying to you. Ad chaf ama, up to 20 amais, that a person could and would make their building temporary. If you made it out of metal, that's also, you'd be yod to the mitzvah, because it's roy for arai-ish, arayism. Only, even if you tried making it bizarrely at a temporary structure, you still not be yod to the mitzvah. Dr. Rashi, within keva, it's at least, even if you, I guess, remove some of the keva kite from it, you still have arai. Asa Ketira, you did it the right way. What's the reason that the Torah is teaching us that it needs to be temporary? Not about the materials, but about the dimensions of it. It has to be within a height that it could be built arai. All right? Ding! When you hear this sound, you will know it is time to turn the page. Kulahu! Okay, so now we have a machlekes. Rabbah, Reb Zera, and Rava. Let's see. Okay, so we have less inches. I wish I knew what that was going on. Okay. Lilith. Oh, now I'm seeing the comments. Lilliputian. Well, thank you. Lilliputian. All right. Thank you. Okay, that guy looks Lilliputian, doesn't he, compared to the sukkah? Okay. Continuing in the Masechta. Kula Karabale Amri. So we have Rabbi Zera and Rava, who don't explain things the Rabbah way. Why don't they go with Rabbah's drasha that your generation shall know that they're in a sukkah? Yeah, that's not what it means. It means generation should know that they were protected. That's talking about the generations knowing. So Rashi, right? All the other opinions, all the other ones, Rav and Rabbi Zera. That pasuk la b'yediyah d'yeshiva sukkah ka'amar. It's not talking about knowing you're in a sukkah. Ela b'yediyah d'oros haba'in. That the generations to come should know. Hekav sukkahs anane kavod hanasel. There's a button. LBDA there's a button. Heck of sukkahs and covered and not avos. They should know about what their ancestors were protected and shielded. Okay. Why wouldn't Rabba and Rava go to Rabbi Zera's pasuk about a sukkah protecting tseil yoma mecharev? That's a messianic thing about being protected from the fallout of Armageddon. Those sukkahs will be for shade, meaning they will provide shade, which is pleasant. Mistar, and that sukkah will also be protecting from the elements. But the mitzvah of sukkah is not a shade thing. Oh yeah, says Rabbi Zera back. Very Zera. Oh, now I see what's happening. What are amas in feet? Yeah, a little less than 24 inches. That's why, by the way, hi Leah. That's why I have this guy over here, just for context. So you could see him next to the amma ruler. And you can see that a person is going to be roughly 3.5 or so amas. Okay, so back to our Gemara. Yeah, so Rabbi Zera responds, Im kain lemakra, Rabbi Zera lemakra v'chupa. There are other words that can be used for a canopy of protection, or a canopy in general. Call it a chuppah. Umay v'sukkah tiel etzel yomam. Why would it say a sukkah specifically? By using that expression in the pasuk, shemat minot tarti. You can learn out both. So Rabbi Zera has a response, which doesn't stop Rabba or Rava from still not going with that. But Rashi says, Tarati, the ain't shame sukkah, ella suya litzel. Tahi, the mes Mashiach, shmita suya litzel, kuriya sukkah. Okay. Kirova namele amre mishim kushada abaye. And they're not going to say like Rava, who said that it isn't, that when it's over 20 amos, it's more of a diras kava, it's permanent because Abaye's kasha. Abaye also had a kasha on Rabbi Zera. Taisa speaks out. Sorry, Rava. No, Abaye. I'm just losing my names. Was it Abaye? Who asked? No, Abaye asked on Rabbi Zera about Asher's Kanayim, but he gave a good answer to that. The question on Rava seems to be a stronger question. Look, so okay, now we're going to bring in a brisa or two and say who said this. But before that, Rashi. They don't really like his answer about the pasuk, which talks about it, is telling you a shiur of what ought to be keva. Hayul krol av davka arei nakat. Hayul krol av davka arei nakat le'ofina minei shiur. The pasuk is not specifically saying it must be arai, it must be roy to be arai temporary. Okay. Zokt the Gemara weiter. So we have some random brises, or actually not brises, teachings, memras. Rashi Kaman mehanoch amirei dela'el. According to which one of the aforementioned rabbis, Rabba, Rabbi Zera, and Rava, Azla gahach. According to who are these statements going to work with? Kaman Azla da Rabbi Yeshia Marav. Rabbi Yeshia, in the name of Rav, said, Machlaikas. When is there a machlaikas Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim about a sukkah that is over 20 amos? That Rabbi Yehuda says it's even above that is ksheira, and the Chachamim say no. That's b'shein tefanos magias the schach. That entire machlaikas between Rabbi Yehuda Chachamim is when the walls do not reach the schach. So now we have the walls nowhere near the schach. That's when Rabbi Yehuda says it's kosher still, and the Chachamim say, no. That case would be puzzle. Avol, but defanois magias schach. But if the walls reach the schach, even if it's above 20 amas, is going to be kshera. Come on, who's that going to go like? Kirabba, says the Gemara. The Omer Mishim Dlei Shalta Ba'ina. Rabba said, what's the problem? Why did the Chachamim say that a sukkah that's less than 20 amas, a sukkah that's more than 20 amas is psula? Because you can't see the schach. But if the walls go all the way up to the schach, then it's going to be noticeable. You say, I spoke that out too early. According to why is Rabbah? It's Rabbah. He says the problem is not noticing it. And since the walls reach the schach, you can see it. Through the walls, you look up and you notice it. If it's about Rava's reason about permanence, or about the shade being too far off to the side, why would the Chachamim agree to Rabbi Yehuda? That would only work within Rabbah. Okay, we have another teaching now. We want to know who it goes with. Come on, Rav Huna, the name of Rav says, Machlekes, when is there a Machlekes between Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim? When do you have Machlekes, Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim? When the sukkah is only 4 amas by 4 amas. But if it's more than 4 by 4, it's going to be kshera even if it is above 20. I just want to see something. Okay. So now we're going to make a sukkah here that is 4 by 4. There. Oh, it's possible that this sukkah that I had over here also was a 4 by 4. Yeah, it was. Oh, that's cute. All right, so we have a sukkah over here, which the walls are made out of barzel in a nod to Abaye and Zera. I'm sorry, in a nod to Abaye and Rava. Let's make that back to normal again. And this is a sukkah, which is 4 by 4, as is the sukkah that we're talking about that's too high, and that's no good. Rabbi Yehuda says it's good. The Chachamim say it's no good. But, says Rav Huna in the name of Rav, if your sukkah was wider, longer than that, it would not be pasul. In other words, let's clone that sukkah, and let's make it wider. So now, it's kosher. Says Rav Huna in the name of Rav. Why would the Chachamim suddenly agree in that case? You want to know who the Gemara says? Come on. Rabbi Zera. That's like Rabbi Zera. The Amar Mishum Tzelhu. That the issue is the shade. Once the schach is... I forgot to move the schach all the way up. That's the whole point. The point is that when it's more than 4 amas, then... interesting. I'm going to deliberately okay. I'm going to deliberately not move the walls up with it. I'm just going to have the schach. Well, that's kind of extreme. How about that? All right, so we have schach, which is over 20 amas, and it's going to be kosher because the issue was that once the schach is at that height, the shade is way too far off to the side, but if the sukkah is wider, then boom, the shade can get it. Rashi. Hachi Garsina and Machlekes b'shein ba ela arba amis alva yesh ba yoser mishum tzel de'i mishum mishtat eina. If it's about whether you see it or not, but tfei midal amis portalish alta ba eina. Just because it's wider is not going to make you make the schach more recognizable or noticeable. Nope. No, not to that Rashi yet. Okay, so what? It gets the sukkah. You got the shade. Now we're going to have a third teaching and ask who said it, and we'll be stumped. Come on, Azla, the Rav Chonan bar Rabba Amar Rav. I don't know why everyone has different members b'shem Rav. Machlekes b'shein machzakes al kadei reisha v'ruba v'shachanai. What's the machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim about a sukkah that's taller than 20 amas ksher psula? That's when it is a really minimum sheer sukkah, where it is 7 tfachim by 7 tfachim around. A tefach, well, there's 5 tfachim in an amma. 1.3 would, okay, that's a weird number, but sure. Here. I'm just going to try to draw. I'm going to try to draw a square. Why is that? Why is it not letting me draw a square? Weird. Okay. All right. I'm just trying to get the numbers exactly over here. Okay. Ooh, that was odd. There we go. All right. So now we have something which is very small. I mean, you can look at this poor guy over here. If it's going to be his sukkah. This is a very, very small sukkah to be in. And to add insult to injury, right, this sukkah, this tiny sukkah, is what's going to be taller than 20 amas. Bling! And let's give it some schach. Let's give it some schach. Okay, so that sukkah over here is above 20 amas. This tiny sukkah, that's the one that Rabbi Yehuda and the Chacham argue about. And just to make things a little bit more visible, I'm going to break the fourth wall. Get it? And let's see. Now I'm just going to remove it entirely. And now you can have this guy try to fit into the sukkah. And it won't necessarily even fit all of him. It will fit, it has to be able to fit his table and most of him when he's seated. That's the sukkah that Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim argue about. Rabbi Yehuda says it's kshera even if it's super high, and the Chacham say no, above 20 it's no good. Aval, so that's machlaikas b'she'en machzakas, where it doesn't hold ella only k'dei reishev ruba v'shalchanai. His head, most of the rest of him, and his table. Aval machzakas yesem k'dei reishev ruba v'shalchanai. Afilu malam esrim amak shera. If it's a little bit bigger than that, even if it's 4x4 or less, it's going to be kshera, even according to the Chachamim. Come on, who's that like? Delay kechad. Like nobody. Gemara says we're stumped. It's not going to fit with any of the aforementioned opinions. Like Rashi. Oh, Rav, Gishmak. Rashi asked my kasha. Vim taimar kasha d'Rav d'Rav. We have contradictions in what Rav said. There's different opinions what Rav said. Rashi didn't ask that before by Defanas Megedas L'Schach because it's not per se a contradiction. There may be more than one nuance in his lachs, but here there's a clear contradiction between this and the din before in the name of Rav about whether it's for Amais that the machlekes is as opposed to more than that, or whether it's Rosh Hashanah Shechana the machlekes is as opposed to more than that. Okay, come on. Rashi says it's like none of the above shitas. None of them. A little bit more than that tiny scale is not going to help notice the schach. There's no shade mechitzas, kavanami baya, and it would also need stable walls to build. Rosh Hashanah, his head and most of him. Derech suudasan ba'aseba haisa al mitais. People, right, like Pesach, they would eat by leaning on couches. Umasubin al tzad smaylam. Ve'in eichlin zikufen. V'yeshvin kumaynu. They don't eat sitting straight like us. It had to say his head and most of him. Lafuke katana, as opposed to a tiny sukkah. You might be able to get his head in, and his table, but he can't get most of himself in. Maybe he can get himself most of his head and most of himself in, but not his table. Okay. The Gemara continues. Let's see. Okay, weiter. Okay. B'Shlomo, the Gemara says, Derbi Yeshia, Pliga ad Rav Huna. Let's get our names straight. The memra that we just had about if it's larger than the minimum shear, there's no machlekes. That was Rav Chanan bar Rabba. The memra before that, Arba Amais, was Rav Huna, and before that, about the Fanos Megiyas Eschach, when they reach the Eschach, that's Rabbi Yeshia. B'Shlomo Rabbi Yeshia Pliga ad Rav Huna v'Rav Chanan bar Rabba. But we can understand Rabbi Yeshia arguing on the other two. They're talking about width or length. He's not talking about that. He's talking about whether the walls reach it or not. So we can see a clear machlekes there, which does not go with what I said before in Rashi. Oops. Ella Rav Huna v'Rav Chanan bar Rabba neimer behechsher sukkah kamiflagi. What's the machlekes? Rav Huna and Rav Chanan bar Rabba. The machlekes seems to be about a very limited thing, about how wide it is, and it's machlekes. Is it enough to hold your head, most of you, and your table, or 4 ames? So is that the machlekes? What the minimum shear of a sukkah is? Neima be'echsher sukkah kamiflagi. Let's say the machlekes is about the minimum shear for a sukkah. Demar savar hechsher sukkah barba amos. Umar savar hechsher sukkah b'machzekes roishay v'ruba v'shalchanai. According to Rav Huna, the minimum share for a sukkah is 4 ames by 4 ames. According to Rav Chanan, it's going to be, the minimum share sukkah is your head, most of you, on the table, which is 7 by 7 tefachim. Dr. Ashi Eller Rav Huna Rav Chanan the Amri Taima the Rabbanan B'Shur Demashkahu, and still Umar Omar Dal Ames Umar Omar Rishav Rishachanan Emem Echsher Sukkah Ba'arka V'Rachba Pligi. The Tarvayu Eslo the Kligi Rabbanan B'Sukkah Amatum Tzemes B'Shir Hechsher Eirech Sukkah Pligi. Uvitvei Meiha Mechashir, or Uvitvei Mia Mechashir Afilu Hi Gavaya Tkeim Dervicha Ikatzel Schach. I Taima Achrina L'Hachshira Rav Huna Savar Yefshel Lahamed Machlukasim B'Psuch Medal Amais. The Kevin Deravicha Ikatzel Schach. I Taima Achrina L'Hachshira. Whatever, you work it out. You can work it out. But they're saying that the Machlokes between the Rabbanan is by the minimum shear. Rav Huna is like, I can't go under 4 ames. Less than that, it's not a good sukkah no matter what. Even if it's less than 20 ames, it's no good. It's too small. We're going to see an opinion like that. Okay, fine. That's going on in the Gemara's response. So the Gemara says, "Loi, no. The machlek, it's not a machlekes between Rav Chanan and Rav Huna about the minimum shear for a sukkah. There will be machleksim like that, but this is not one of them. The kuli alma echsher sukkah raishai v'rubai v'shalchanai. Everyone agrees that 7 by 7 tefachim, a small area, that's kosher. Even according to Rav Huna. What's the machlekes here? He says that a sukkah which is over 20 amas, that machlekes was said by a minimum share sukkah. This would be the explanation of Rav Chanan. Everyone would say it's ksher more than that. Why? We don't know. It's like Rashi, Al Vayesmik Levishay Ksher, V'taimet the Puzzle L'Malam Yasim, V'taimet the Psul L'Malam Yasim, Le'adilan, Could Amran Le'el Dahach Like a. We don't know exactly what sheet that would work with. Umar Savar and Rav Huna holds, as long as you can fit in your sukkah, right, 7 tfachim by 7 tfachim, you can fit your table, your head, and most of you, that is going to be kshira. If it's less than 20. And if it's more than 20, then it's a machlekes. Rabbi Yehuda would say kshera, the chum say psula. But if it's more than 4 amas, by 4 amas, then everyone would say it's kshera. But there's no machlekes at the minimum share of a sukkah. Rashi masavar b'chdei Rashi v'shachanai v'chein b'yaser adal amas pligi b'gaiva v'tayim mishum tzeil. It has to do with the shade reaching. Alpha b'yaser midal loy pligi the kevin dervicha he could sail. Okay. Meisvei. The Gemara has a kasha now on the shitas before about why a sukkah. I think this be'ikr is going to be a kasha on Rabbah, but let's see. Okay, this is a brisa, and it says the following. Rashi says, "Meisvei lahan chamaret deprishdu deplukta demasisin kvarshvaz." Sukkah shigavayel malim yasmama psula. We have this brisa which says a sukkah which is taller, right? The schach is above 20 amais psula. Rabbi Yehuda says it's good at arba'im v'chamishim amai, even up to 40 or 50 amais. Is more than that also good? See Tosfos. Amar Rabbi Yehuda now is going to bring a proof to his shita. Ma'isa beHilni Hamalka. There was a story that happened with Queen Hilni Belud in Lida. Shaisa Sukasa Gavaya Me'eser Mama. Her sukkah was more than 20 amas tall. V'hayu zekenim nichnasin v'yaitzin l'sham. And the rabbinic elders visited. V'yamula davar. And they didn't say, your sukkah's psula. So this is Rabbi Yehuda responding. This is a brisa, and Rabbi Yehuda is saying to the Chachamim, you're saying a sukkah over 20 amas is no good. Hilni had one, and they didn't criticize that. Amru Lai, the Chacham said to Rabbi Yehuda, Misham Raya? You're going to bring us a proof from there? Isha isa uftur min sukkah. As a woman, she was exempt from the mitzvah of sukkah. So maybe they didn't say anything about her sukkah. Maybe it was possible, but they didn't want to make problems. Amar Laha, and Rabbi Yehuda said back to the Chachamim, she had 7 sons. And everything she did was based on what the sages said. And now the Gemara is going to be like, what was that? Why did he add that part in? Here's what Rabbi Yehuda saying. If you're going to say Banim Ketanim Hayu, that her sons were still very young, and they're so young they were exempt from sukkah. Since there were 7 of them, there would definitely be at least one of them who would already not need his mother at night and therefore be obligated in sukkah midirabanan. And you're going to say, yeah, but that's only something that'll be chayav midirabanan, only be a rabbinic obligation. And maybe Hilmi didn't worry about that. She didn't care about that. That's a response that she did everything based on what the Chachamim said. So therefore, says Rabbi Yehuda, the Chachamim would have said something to her. She at least had at least one son who would be obligated in sukkah. Her sukkah was over 20 amas, and it was fine. Says Rabbi Yehuda to the Chachamim, dun dun dun. The point being that the case of Hilni is a case about their machlekes. I thought it was a kashan ra, but it absolutely isn't. So Rashi, Katan Intar Chleimay, I mean, in the command to Chayav L'Chanchei Mitzvah Sukkah. Midar Abanon shehiz kiku lahargos hakat the mitzvah shu roila k'dei sheyeh mechonach v'ragel mitzvahs. Okay, so Gemara says actually for Rabbah this is not a kasha at all. According to the opinion that when the walls don't reach the schach, this way Rabbah explained it, that when do the Chachamim say it's no good when it's over 20, when the walls don't reach the schach? Tarka Shamalka Leishev Besuka She'ain Defiance Begias L'Schach Mishum Avira. A queen would want to have shade and not shade, air. She would want to have a breeze, and therefore her sukkah wouldn't have walls reaching all the way to the top. And you have machlekes, Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim, about her sukkah. But the Gemara is going to continue by saying that it's shver on the other ones. Alright, I think we're going to stop here because it is the end of the daf. Mirza Hashem, be continued tomorrow. Shkoyach.